For over a century, one address in Newton, Iowa was supposed to mean something. One Dependability Square. That was the actual mailing address of the Maytag Corporation, a company so confident in its machines that it ran the longest-lived advertising character in American television history, a repairman who had literally nothing to do because Maytag products never broke. That campaign ran for over 40 years. Today, Maytag does not make a single machine. It does not employ a single factory worker. The name on the washing machine in your laundry room is a ghost. It is a label applied to someone else's product, built in someone else's factory, in someone else's state. This is the story of how one of America's most dependable brands was destroyed from the inside by corporate greed, a catastrophic product launch, and a marketing stunt so absurd it is now taught in business schools as the worst promotion in history. If you walk into a Lowe's or Home Depot today, you will see the Maytag name on washers, dryers, and refrigerators, and you will assume you are buying the same legendary machine your grandmother swore by. That is an illusion. What you are actually buying is a Whirlpool product with a Maytag sticker on the front panel. Since 2006, every single appliance sold under the Maytag brand has been designed, engineered, and manufactured by Whirlpool Corporation out of Benton Harbor, Michigan. The original Maytag factory is an empty shell. The original Maytag engineering team is gone. The original Maytag designs were all discontinued within 2 years of the acquisition. When Whirlpool bought Maytag, they did not buy the company to preserve it, they bought it for the name. Because in the appliance industry, the name Maytag was worth more than the machines themselves. The real question is not why Whirlpool gutted the company. It is how a brand that was once so dominant that it survived the Great Depression managed to destroy itself before the competition even had a chance. And to understand that, you have to go back to a farm equipment shop in 1893. Frederick Louis Maytag arrived in Newton, Iowa from Illinois and started a company making threshing machine attachments. During a slow winter in 1907, he built his first washing machine. It was crude, but it worked, and it kept working. Maytag learned an early lesson about what would define his company for the next century. When his first product, the pastime washer, developed problems, customers complained loudly. Maytag reportedly said that a product bearing his name would always be dependable. He meant it. Through the 20s and 30s, while other manufacturers collapsed during the Depression, Maytag was one of the few companies in America to remain profitable. They made almost every component in-house, coated their own screws, and tested every single machine that rolled off the line. By the 1950s, Maytag was the premium brand in American laundry. They were smaller than Whirlpool, smaller than General Electric, smaller than Frigidaire. But they did not try to compete on price or product range. They competed on one thing only, the idea that a Maytag would last so long you would forget you owned it. The flagship Dependable Care top loader was engineered like a commercial machine. It used a heavy-duty Pitman drive transmission, porcelain-coated steel tubs instead of plastic, and components so robust that appliance repair forums today are full of people still running Dependable Cares from the 1970s. One Georgia woman famously used her 1936 Maytag through 4 different families before it needed its first replacement part after 25 years. In 1967, the Leo Burnett advertising agency created a character that would become an American icon. The lonely repairman, played by actor Jesse White, was a man so bored by the reliability of Maytag machines that he had nothing to do but play solitaire and wait for a phone that never rang. It was the most successful appliance advertisement in history. But what happened next would turn one of America's most trusted brands into a case study in corporate self-destruction. The Maytag family sold the business in 1962, and by the early 1980s, the company was run by a CEO named Daniel Crum, who believed Maytag needed to become a full-line appliance giant to survive. In 1986, Crum acquired the Magic Chef group of companies, which included the budget brands Norge and Admiral. Overnight, Maytag went from a small premium manufacturer to the owner of bargain basement appliance lines that were the exact opposite of what the brand stood for. The company started slapping the Maytag name on products that had nothing to do with the Maytag engineering tradition. The Performa line was just a rebadged Norge machine. Internal quality suffered too. In the mid-90s, Maytag replaced the legendary Pitman drive in its Dependable Care washers with a cheaper orbital transmission. Appliance collectors today call the mid-90s white panel dependable Cares the last true Maytags. Everything after that was already compromised, but Crum was not done. In 1989, he purchased the Chicago Pacific Corporation for $961 million, primarily to acquire the Hoover vacuum brand and its European operations. This deal nearly killed the company. Maytag took on $500 million in debt and inherited a European division that was bleeding money. And then Hoover's British division launched what is now considered the worst marketing promotion in the history of business. In late 1992, Hoover UK offered 2 free round-trip flights to any customer who bought a product worth £100. The flights alone were worth £600. That is like buying a vacuum cleaner and getting $1,200 in free airfare. Risk management consultants warned Hoover it was financial suicide. One consultant named Mark Kimber said it made no logical sense and refused to even offer risk management coverage. But the executives ignored every warning. Over 220,000 people claimed the flights. Hoover tried to sabotage its own customers by burying the redemption process in paperwork, sending claim forms on Christmas Eve hoping people would miss the deadline, and pretending applications were lost in the mail. The scandal made national news in Britain. The BBC investigated. A protest group with 8,000 members was formed. One customer was so furious he blocked a Hoover repair van in his driveway with a horsebox full of manure and refused to move it for a week. The police came. They did not care. Nobody blamed the customer. 3 Hoover executives were fired. Maytag's parent company recorded a $72 million loss from the disaster in 1993 alone. Hoover Europe posted a £25 million operating loss that same year. By 1995, Maytag sold Hoover Europe to an Italian company called Candy at an $81 million loss. Total European losses from the Hoover adventure exceeded $163 million. And at the exact same time that money was hemorrhaging overseas, Maytag made the most consequential product decision in its history. They launched the Neptune. The Neptune front-loading washer was supposed to be Maytag's technological leap into the modern era. Instead, it became the most notorious appliance failure of the decade. Almost immediately, customers reported mold and mildew growing inside the door boot seal. The smell was so severe that owners nicknamed the machine the Stink-O-Matic. Clothes came out of the wash covered in black mold. The door latch failed. The motor control boards failed. The wax motors that locked the door failed. Maytag's response was to tell customers to wipe down the rubber gasket with bleach once a week and leave the door open for 2 hours after every load. More than 2 million consumers were affected. In 2005, a class action lawsuit was settled, offering repair reimbursements and replacement certificates. Then, in 2007, the Consumer Product Safety Commission recalled 250,000 Neptune washers because water leaking onto the thermal sensor could ignite the circuit board and start a fire. And here is the detail that makes the entire Neptune saga even more damaging. The machines were not built by Maytag at all. They were manufactured by Samsung in South Korea, the company that built its entire 100-year reputation on making every component in-house, that coded its own screws and tested every machine on the line, that literally named its headquarters One Dependability Square, had outsourced its most important product launch to a foreign electronics manufacturer that had no history in the laundry business. Appliance industry insiders were stunned. The top-loading Neptune variant was so poorly made that it is considered virtually extinct today. Almost none of them survived. The last pretense of Maytag dependability died with the Neptune. By 2005, customer satisfaction surveys ranked Maytag near the bottom of the appliance field. Market share had fallen to all-time lows. Sales were flat. The board of directors, desperate for a way out, put the company up for sale. A private equity group called Whirlpool Holdings bid $1.13 billion. Then Whirlpool swooped in and outbid them by 43%, offering $1.7 billion, including the assumption of nearly $1 billion in Maytag debt. On October 25, 2007, the last washer rolled off the Newton assembly line, and 550 workers walked out of a 2 million square foot factory for the final time. Some cried. Some hung their work boots on the chain link fence outside the factory as a memorial. Someone attached a plaque shaped like a cemetery headstone that said RIP. A handwritten message at the bottom read, "I love you all." Whirlpool had completed its acquisition the previous April. Within weeks, the company announced the closure of the Newton headquarters and factories in Iowa, Illinois, and Arkansas. 4,500 jobs were cut. $400 million in operating costs were slashed. The machines once designed and built in Newton were redesigned to fit on a Whirlpool chassis and moved to non-union factories in Clyde, Ohio, and Mexico. Newton, Iowa, population 15,000, had depended on Maytag for over a century. At its peak, 1 in 4 residents worked at the factory or the corporate headquarters. The Newton mayor said the town's people bled Maytag blue. Maytag had paid for the town's parks, its aquatic center, its auditorium. When the factory closed, manufacturing wages in Jasper County collapsed from 37% above the Iowa state average in 2001 to 20% below the state average by 2015. Unemployment in the county hit the highest rate of any of Iowa's 99 counties. Former CEO Leonard Hadley told a reporter he was extremely disappointed with what had happened in the last 5 years. Workers who had spent their entire careers in that factory found themselves competing for jobs that paid half of what they had earned at Maytag. Today, the massive Maytag factory sits largely empty. Parts of the old headquarters building have been converted into a community college workspace and a small brewery. Inside the appliance collectors community, Whirlpool-era Maytag products are called Whirltags, and nobody means it as a compliment. Every original Maytag design was killed after the acquisition. The Dependable Care top loader, the machine that made the brand legendary, was discontinued. The Neptune line was axed. The Performa was gone. The advanced dishwasher plant in Jackson, Tennessee, one of the most efficient manufacturing facilities in the country, was shut down by Whirlpool in 2009, despite being only 18 years old. Nothing survived except the name. And the name is now used to sell Whirlpool machines at a slight premium to consumers who still associate the word Maytag with the dependability of a product that no longer exists. The lonely repairman is still in the commercials. In 2014, Whirlpool recast the character as a younger, fitter actor who no longer sits in an empty office waiting for the phone to ring. Instead, he shows up as a physical embodiment of the machine itself, magically tumbling laundry in midair or crouching under a kitchen sink, pretending to be a dishwasher. The original character worked because the product was genuinely dependable. The new character works because Whirlpool's marketing budget is big enough to make you forget the product is no longer special. The lesson of Maytag is not that corporations are evil, it is that a reputation built over 100 years can be destroyed in less than 20 by people who did not build it. It took Frederick Maytag a lifetime to earn the right to call his address One Dependability Square. It took a generation of executives chasing acquisitions, outsourcing their flagship to Samsung, and launching a machine that grew mold on your clothes to turn that address into a punchline. The Maytag story repeats itself across every industry where a heritage brand is acquired by a conglomerate and hollowed out for its name. If the label says one thing but the factory says another, trust the factory. The next time you see the Maytag name in a store, remember that the machine behind it was designed in Michigan, built in Ohio or Mexico, and has absolutely nothing to do with the factory in Newton, Iowa that closed its doors forever on that October afternoon in 2007. If you found this story worth knowing, hit subscribe so you never miss another deep dive like this one.